Hey, welcome back to my shop. Thanks for tuning in. Have you ever asked yourself, what kind of clamp do I need to buy? Which ones are strongest? Well, we're going to answer those questions today. I've got an assortment of clamps here that you might find laying around your wood shop, and we're going to see which ones are actually strongest. We're going to do that using a force gauge. I picked this up from Haas Automation. We're going to test all of these clamps and see which one actually produces the most force. Starting with a traditional wood clamp. Your grandpa probably has some of these in his basement. I don't use these much, but they are a useful clamp. I grabbed a couple of quick release clamps. I don't use those for glue ups really, but for holding things in place, they're great. We'll test a 5-inch C clamp. I don't really use these again for glue ups, but for holding jigs in place, they're great. I anticipate this should be a pretty strong clamp. I've got a cheap Harbor Freight F clamp. I actually use these a lot. They're very useful. They come in a wide variety of lengths. I don't anticipate it to be a very strong clamp. However, they're very cheap and they are very useful. Pipe clamps. I actually really like pipe clamps. You can buy a little 1-foot pipe if you just want to make a short clamp, and you can buy a 10-foot pipe and take these clamps off and put it on a 10-foot pipe clamp. I anticipate that should be a pretty strong clamp. I bought a big box store F clamp. Now certainly this is going to be much heavier and stronger than the cheap Harbor Freight clamp. This one claims 1,000 foot-pounds. I'm very interested to see what it actually produces. And as a direct comparison, Bessey makes this interesting F clamp. It has a series of gears inside here that put the handle to tighten it down here rather than up here. There should be a little bit of loss in force because of that. This does claim 450 pounds, so we're going to see if it can get there. And then of course we've got a big parallel clamp. This clamp makes a hefty claim of 2,200 foot-pounds. I'm really interested to see what kind of force this can produce. We're going to take this force gauge and I'm going to actually clamp it right to the workbench so we can get the most force possible out of every clamp, and we're going to see what they can do. Let's get into it. This force gauge reads from 0 to 5,000 pounds. Each of the little black hash marks is 100 pounds, and I'll be zooming in so you can see the results with me. First up is Grandpa's wood clamp. Now, despite giving myself arthritis to tighten this, we didn't even move the needle, couldn't even make 100 pounds. Next up is the 8-inch Irwin Quick Grip clamp. Like I said, this is great for holding things in place, but again, it's not very strong. We didn't even move the needle. Next up is the 12-inch Jorgensen clamp. This quick release clamp is quite a bit stronger than the other one. We actually got the needle to move, and maybe about 200 pounds on this one. Next up is a 5-inch C clamp. These aren't really designed for glue ups, but when you need to hold something in place, this'll do. This one reaches about 1,000 foot-pounds. Next up is the cheap Harbor Freight F clamp. As I said, these are very handy for glue ups. It's not incredibly strong, but it's also very affordable. So when you need a lot of them for glue ups, it doesn't break the bank. This one's going to produce about 250 pounds of force. Next up is an F clamp that I purchased at a local big box store. This one's much heavier than the Harbor Freight version, so I'm expecting a lot more. The packaging claimed 1,000 pounds, and that's exactly what we got. Now let's compare that to the Bessey GearKlamp. This is the clamp that uses a series of gears to put the tightening handle around the bar, which gives your hand a little more clearance. It claimed 450 pounds. It did fall a little bit short of that, but it's still a very usable 300 pounds. Now let's try the pipe clamp. This is a 1/2-inch pipe clamp, and I suspect a 3/4-inch pipe clamp might produce a little more force, but this one comes in at a very respectable 900 pounds. Last but certainly not least, we're going to give this parallel clamp a chance. This one made the heftiest claims at 2,200 pounds max load, 1,700 pounds everyday clamping force. By hand, I can get 1,000 pounds out of it. So then the question becomes, how close can I get to this 1,700 pounds working force and 2,200 pounds max load? Let's take a look. This Bessey parallel clamp is designed to put a hex key in the back so you can attach a wrench. And I just can't imagine a world where I don't turn on this until either I get 2,200 pounds or something bad happens. Right as I was getting to 2,000 pounds, the clamp gave away. I gave it a few more turns to see if I could get any back out of it, but nope, it was broke. Lesson learned: when you're cranking on your most expensive clamp, maybe stop when you get over 1,700 pounds. Well, that's all the clamps I have for you today. We are going to test out one more item in just a second. If there's any other kind of clamps you'd like to see tested with this force gauge, let me know in the comments below and I'll see what I can do. If you're looking to purchase any of these clamps, I'll leave some links in the description below. It will be an affiliate link, which means I make a small commission off of that, even though you pay the same price you would otherwise. And before you go, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Now let's do one more test. I thought a fun comparison would be to see how much force can I get out of my small bench vise. It comes in at 2,400 pounds. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.